So we've got our new Oregon blade maker 2x72-inch belt grinder all mounted up. It's solid. I mounted it right to the bench top. I didn't use a plate or anything under here. This is a 3/4 inch plywood top on my workbench here where I keep my bandsaw and my drill press and what have you. My vise is mounted to it. So I didn't think I needed any type of a base plate. And this thing is a dream. I really like the construction of it. I mean, it's very well built, it's heavy duty, it's sturdy. Once we got it all mounted up, we drilled a hole in the top of the bench here. The one thing I didn't like about this grinder, and I would imagine they're probably all going to be basically the same, It came with a motor. I paid $729 base price for this grinder with a 1.5 horse motor. And I'm telling you, I searched the internet far and wide for belt grinders, and the ones that you find that come with a motor are generally over $1,000. I found them for anywhere from $1,200 to, you know, close to the 2000s, and I came across this one from Oregon Blade Makers. I looked up a couple of videos on YouTube that really didn't show me a whole lot or explain a whole lot, but I decided on this belt grinder because of it's all built out of 1/4-inch steel. This particular model is welded, so it's all welded together everywhere. They have a little higher price one that's all bolted together. But I got to thinking about that, and bolts can come loose. Welds don't. So I decided to go with the welded one. The one that was bolted, I think, was maybe $50 more. So I paid $729 for this grinder. I paid for expedited shipping. So shipping, tax, and all full end price was around $830, I believe. But she really came out. It's really nice, and I mean the size. Now I'll show you. This is what I've been using. So look at my planting here. I mean, I have a planting on this thing about the size of a stick of gum. And my slack belt I had to do right in this small little area here. So, you know, you're looking at that much room to use the slack belt if I wanted to, just for polishing or softening edges. So this one here is a huge step up. Removing the belts is so easy. You know, you just pull your belt off. Now this is a Trivax belt that I've been working on an old knife of mine with. But look at that. That's so nice, the way you change your belt. And let's hear it run. It's not real loud. It's about probably the same noise level as my previous small grinder. But it really works great. I've put, we drilled a hole here in the bench because this motor only came with a short cord on it, maybe, you know, a little over a couple, maybe 3 feet long. And there was no switch or anything. There's no switch on the motor whatsoever. So obviously we don't want to have to plug it in and unplug it every time we want to turn it on and off. So we drilled a hole down through the bench here. We cut the plug off and used that cord that came with it and ran it over here to this switch box that we mounted on the side of the bench, and then ran a piece of wire from the switch box down here to where my plug is. And so it's clean. It's a nice clean install, a nice clean mount. And I'll bring you up a little closer here and we'll show you just how we put everything together. So there she is, sitting on the bench. Now I wanted to leave myself a little room on this side of the bench to set things on, you know, if I'm working on something. We've still got plenty of room on this side where I can slide my drill press handsaw. But we messed around with where to put this motor for the longest time. My brother helped me out. He wired up this switch here for me. You see how we just mounted this switch on the front. And like I said, it comes with a little short, about a 3-foot cord with a 3-prong plug on the end of it. This is only a 110, so you don't have to have 220 in your garage. It's a 1.5 horse 110. So we drilled this hole in the bench here and ran the cord down through here. We cut the plug off and then wired the cord in solid to here. And then we ran another piece of cord. I bought an extension cord that was about the same size, and we ran that into here to bring our power from down here where it's plugged in. So we bring our power from there up to here, so that's kind of out of the way. That's where I plug in pretty much all of my things I use on the bench, because I need to run some wire around and, you know, put some plugs in on the back of the bench here, but we haven't done that yet. So this turned out to be a really clean install. I got 5/16 bolts, 1.5 inch bolts, I believe they were, 1.5 inch long, 5/16. I put large washers on here and on the bottom, and on the bottom we put a lock washer with our nuts. So it's nice and clean up here on the bench. Now we messed with this motor quite a lot trying to figure out where to put it, because if you put this toolbar in this bottom hole right here, it wants to hit the motor. But if you look at the side of the belt grinder here, this clamp which holds this toolbar into place is this one's further forward. So when I get my contact wheel and my small wheel adapter for doing, you know, the one that takes those little small wheels about that big, when I get that, that'll go down here, I believe, and it's not going to have to go in near that far. But you have quite a bit of adjustment on it because of your tensioning arm here that you can, you know, so you've got a pretty good range of where you can put this. Now this planting is very nice. Look how big this thing is. I've got a good 6 or more inches tall here and it's 2 inches wide. And of course with this D attachment here, you can loosen this bolt right here, and you can, you know, swivel this way, or, you know, this way or this way. So that's very nice. But it came out very clean, and what I was going to tell you about this motor is we fought with where to put it and trying to get it lined up, because we were trying to put it in further back from the machine. Well, what we ended up doing is we just took this motor and we lined up our belt pulleys, our drive pulleys and all that. You can see how that's all lined up. We made sure that that was lined up, but to get it lined up to, you know, this way, that was what we were struggling with. And I finally decided that we'd just take it and we just butted the plate right up against the plate, the bottom plate of the grinder here. So that ensures that the motor is straight, you know, that way. And all we had to do was move it in and out a little bit this way to make sure we were lined up here. And then the holes in the plate on that were a little bit smaller, so I had to go back and get some smaller bolts to put in there. But same basic principle, large washers with the lock washer underneath where the nut goes. So it came out quite well. I'm very pleased. I mean, that's a really nice bench grinder, belt grinder. It's going to make my knife making just a ton easier. What little I've used it already, I've realized that, oh my word, man, it's like a whole new world. So, and then I bought probably $150 worth of braces, but I got these Trivax belts. They're really fine. They're for finishing sharpening and things. And then there's two of them right here, and one of them is still on the grinder. And then I got some 80 grit, I believe these are. And I got another pack that had 220, 400, 320. So those are very, very nice. And I'm still waiting. I ordered a 6-pack of 40 grit, and I've got some more belts I've hung up over there. Those are my other 220, 300, and 40 grits, and then the green ones there, those are 80 grit, I believe. No, they're 120 grit. Yeah, those green ones are 120 grit. And then, of course, the darker ones, they're the ones that range from 220 to 400. Now, one thing I will say, yesterday when I was using this, we had this little mishap. And I'm not sure exactly how I accomplished this, but you can see I was working on the edge of one of my older knives that I had made, and I guess the only thing I can figure is this is the knife I was working on, and the only thing I can figure was I had it here and I just got it tipped a little bit. Instead of being flat, I tipped it a little bit on the planting like so, and with this sharp edge on this planting, I haven't decided yet what to do about this, if I should dress this edge on this planting a little bit or leave it the way it is, but this blade hooked that belt, and when it did, you know, it hooked it right here, and it just, as the belt was turning, coming down, it just sliced it. And so that was one of my 400 grit, one of my brand new 400 grit belts, and it's ruined. I mean, I can still use it in like little small pieces of sandpaper or something to cut up, so I'm not going to throw it away, but as a belt, it's no longer viable. So I'm going to have to kind of figure that out, but all in all, I'm extremely happy with this thing and looking forward to making my first knife. So watch for next video. I'm going to take this, I believe we're going to take this pipe wrench jaw here. My brother wants me to make him a knife out of that. So we're going to take this pipe wrench jaw and we're going to make a knife out of this. Right where my hand is will be the handle, and we'll forge a knife out of this jaw part up here. So that's how that's working out. That's beautiful. I love it. It's got plenty of power. Like I say, there's no switch with it. You'll have to wire in a switch the way we did there on the front of the bench, but it was no huge task. Quite simple, straightforward. But if you're grinding with one of those little 1x30 Harbor Freight grinders, and you can afford to make the upgrade. Hi, baby. My brother's cat. I'm telling you, for the money and the heavy duty build of I mean, this is a very nice grinder. It's very heavy. There's not a lot of vibration. It's put together really well. And you can buy a myriad of attachments for this thing that, you know, you can get another bar with a contact wheel. You can get another bar and put your small wheel deals on there for like doing finger grooves and what have you. I will order those, but I extended myself enough just on the grinder. So like I say, all in all, with expedited shipping, and it was here within 3 days, I believe, 3 to 4 days after I purchased it online. So it was only about They come out of Oregon, obviously Oregon blade maker, and it was here within 4 days. So I'm real happy with the shipping. Everything was packaged really nicely, as you saw in my last video. It wasn't able for anything to be broken or anything. It was all packed real well. So for 830 bucks, that's the ticket right there. I love it. It's going to make my knife making a whole new deal, you know. So there you have it. Our brand new 2x72 inch Oregon blade maker belt grinder. You can look them up on a website. It's just OregonBladeMaker.com. They've got several grinder choices in there. You can buy just the frame and the wheels. You know, you can buy your different size of drive wheels for it if you want it to go slower or faster, or you can get a VFD and you can go through all of that. But you know, I got thinking about that, and I don't believe I need variable speed. The speed of this thing seems to be like right in the sweet spot. I think I'd be able to grind scales with it, or my blades, or whatever I need to do. I may sometime in the future want to maybe put variable speed to it, but it's all in what you're comfortable with and what you're used to. Now, you know, obviously the little 1x30 didn't have a variable speed, and I just got used to putting a little more or a little less pressure on the planting if I needed to. Of course, you couldn't put a lot of pressure on that because you would stop the motor. So this one here, I know a lot of guys have variable speed. A lot of guys don't. If you've ever watched any of Walter Sorrell's videos, he uses an old 2x72 that's a constant speed grinder, and he's just comfortable with the grinder, and he's learned how to use it to where he doesn't really need the variable speed. I thought about ordering one of these, just the frame, and I saw another fellow on YouTube that took he had an old, now he didn't order the frame, he built his own frame, but he had an old weight bench and a treadmill. And he took the two of them and he built his grinder out of that, and he used that treadmill motor and the controls on the treadmill to run at variable speed, which I thought was a pretty cool idea. And you know, you can see them in the want ads around here all day for 150, 200 bucks. So I thought, well, maybe that's what I'll do. I'll buy this, and then I'll buy the a treadmill, you know, and use that motor and what have you. But then I saw this one with the motor, and the price was so good with this. This is a big motor. I mean, it's a 1.5 horse. And when I saw this and I saw how well it was constructed, and that it came with that big motor and a 4-inch drive wheel is what I have on it right now. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to give it a shot without the variable speed. I don't really know why I would need it. I mean, before these came along, we used bench grinders for years, and they just had one speed. So I think if a person just gets used to the speed of their grinder, they'll be fine. So anyway, there she is. And by the way, this is not a paid, you know, a paid advertisement or anything for Oregon blade makers. I just wanted to unbox it and show you, just to give you guys an idea, and maybe help somebody who's been looking for a belt grinder and is undecided at how they want to go, or what they, you know, how they want to do it. So this is a very good route to go if you're looking for a 2x72 and a complete with the motor. It's a very good way to go. You'll have to wire in your switch, but otherwise, and that's not a huge deal. I mean, it's pretty straightforward and easy to wire up a switch. So yeah, there it is. That's how it's done now. That's going to make my life a whole lot easier. So listen, stay tuned. We're going to make a knife out of this. My brother wants me to hammer him out a knife out of this. So kind of already has a, you know, where that handle is. I think that'll work fine. It'll be a little handle heavy, I believe. because once we stretch this out into a blade and that, I think it's going to be, but I don't know. You know, we'll lose some steel out of this to forge scale and what have you, but I think it'll make a pretty good blade. We'll straighten this out. You know, we'll heat it up and straighten that out and draw it out, so that'll be pretty cool. So we'll probably do that in our next video. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like and subscribe button if you would, if you like the content. What we got going on here, garbage man's coming by. So I appreciate you watching. Thanks for joining me in the shop, and we'll see you on the next one. Oh, and there's a link in the description if you want to see when I cut the belt with the knife, when I cut my 400 grit belt on my brother's channel. Go check it out, link in the description.